We like to call it the Supernatural Hour. And now, our hosts.
Hey, welcome back to the Supernatural Hour.
I am Raven.
This is Doc.
And Chad.
And we're pretty excited. Today we're going to talk to you about angels. Doc, let's start you off. What you got about angels?
I have a lot about angels, actually. One of the things I thought was interesting through my study, through my research, was that back when people were polytheistic, before monotheism became the trendy thing to do, this view of angels was actually that these were the sons of God who were members of the divine council. And when it became less popular to believe in multiple gods, they were demoted to spiritual beings and messengers.
Like, oh man, did you get called into the office? Yeah, what did he say to you?
Yeah, you got demoted.
You got demoted.
You're no longer a member of the divine council. You are now a spiritual messenger.
Like, oh man.
With a substantial pay cut, probably.
Well, one of the things I thought interesting as I was reading kind of along those same lines is it talks about, the 7 angels, the 7 archangels, and that, there of how they want to count that. But I read several accounts where some people think that Lucifer was one of those 7 angels, or maybe he was an 8th at one point.
Wouldn't surprise me. I mean, he is son of the morning.
Exactly.
Yeah, in the research I did, he wasn't listed as one of the 7, but they did talk about, I think the 7 is the 7 after the rebellion and the war, and Michael, the archangel, helping cast Lucifer out and winning. So
the hierarchy was not established until after the fall,
or it was, but they've reordered it.
That's right.
You're like, well, you know what? That Lucifer guy, he messed up our whole thing.
Somebody got voted out.
They got voted off the island. You're out. Now we got to reorganize. So one thing I found
voted
interesting.
Out of heaven.
Yeah, that would be suck to be voted out of heaven. I mean, how bad do you have to screw up? We all know that answer.
I think it's more than voted out, though.
Yeah, but was it like, we need a new Lucifer? Or I'm pretty sure the whole name was pretty much tossed out as well.
Probably. So I thought what was interesting is there's the 7. So the 7 angels that I found, and I think it's pretty standard. There's Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, Raphael, Seraphil, Raguel, and Barachiel. And I probably slaughtered about half of those names. And if I did, and you're like an angel expert and you're listening, I apologize. But it's interesting is each of those is also assigned to a day of the week.
Oh.
So Michael is Sunday, Gabriel is Monday, Uriel is Tuesday, Raphael Wednesday, Seraphil is Thursday, Raguel is Friday. That one just doesn't sound right.
Raguel? I got a Raphael.
There's a Raphael, but there's also a Raguel.
But no Leonardo or Donatello.
Those weren't angels.
Just Raphael.
And Barachiel is Saturday, and then I guess they're like, there's no more days of the week. Lucifer, you're out. We vote you out.
Yeah, I actually had a little bit, of course, Michael and Gabriel, and they are the 2 that are actually called out in the canonical scriptures in the Bible.
Right.
And Gabriel's not even listed as an archangel in the Bible, in the canonical. But according to the others they had were Ariel, she's represented as a feminine, and it's the Lion of God, and she's the protector of plants and the earth and animals and those kinds of things.
Right.
And then Azrael, the angel of God, and it's destruction and renewal, but it's not like the end of the times destruction. It's kind of death and rebirth, kind of
like Shiva
kind of discussion. Yeah, that's about the physical and emotional healer, and I thought that was kind of interesting.
So,
go ahead.
I was just going to say the interesting thing before you move off of Gabriel, Michael and Gabriel are recognized not only by most Christian religions, but also Judaism, Islam, and most of Christians. Some of the Christian religions think that Michael is the only archangel. And then the Jews have before I get to the Jews, I want to leave that for the big finish. In Islam, they have angels, and I don't know if they're the same ones or different ones in addition to the ones we just talked about. But in Islam, they have an angel called Jibril, one called Mikael, one that's Israfil, and one that's Azrael. And so, the names are all similar, but the Jews have an angel that they call Metatron. And I'm sorry, but that sounds like a transformer. And I just imagine all the Jews looking up at the sky, and this transformer comes down. It looks like an angel, and he
With
gets
wings and a halo.
Yeah, and then when he gets to the ground, he like turns into a car and drives away. And I'm sure someone is Jewish listening to this just saying Jesus, so sacrilegious. But I'm sorry, you name your angel Metatron, and what am I supposed to think?
That's right.
I'm not trying to be sacrilegious. It sounds like a transformer.
You know, I'm always interested in where religions come from because, like we said, Michael and Gabriel are the only two that are ever mentioned in the Bible. Daniel being the first person to give names to any of the angels, to mention them by name. Previous to Daniel, it was just the angels, which a lot of people refer to as either messengers from God or sons of God. I just found that intriguing that, you know, it's not like we started out with all of these names being known. It wasn't until Daniel where the names of the angels started to become revealed, I guess.
See, how cool would it be to say, I get to name an angel?
Or at least figure out the name.
Or figure out the
angel.
names. I'm sure they're like, yeah, no one named us, dude. Someone did. Someone picked out their names. Probably weren't looking through baby books like I did when I picked out kids' names.
Probably not.
So more on angels.
Yeah, you know, we kind of talked about how in the polytheistic realms they were viewed as part of the divine council, and when we became monotheistic, at least when Christianity, Judaism primarily, they became kind of demoted. We're known as angels or messengers of God. It kind of makes me think about what is the nature of angels, and there's some mixed opinions on this. Some people feel that angels are human spirits, either people who have not been born yet or people who have lived on this earth and passed on. The other, popular opinion is that they are creations of God that are entirely separate from man, but do the bidding of God on the earth.
See, and that's not in the realm of where I'm at. I'm with the first one, as angels are either you haven't been born yet or you've passed on. But the thought of angels being just not even in the sphere of humans as we are right now is a new concept to me. I only really heard about that maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and I was like, what?
Right. Well, and you notice in the Bible, they mention that man was made in God's image, but they don't specify angels, and I think that's where some of this confusion comes up, is that we don't talk about how angels were created.
Right. Well, and then a lot of pictures you see angels have wings, and we don't have wings. And so is that, do they actually have wings, or is that just, we don't know how else you would fly, so it's got to be wings? We'll just slap them on there.
But
Jetpack,
in much of the scripture and things, like when Lot was accompanied by the angels and told to leave Sodom and Gomorrah, he recognized them as angels, but I don't think it was because they had wings. And they also talk about how important it is to treat everybody well because you don't know if you're entertaining angels. And so to me, I think as a manifestation here, I think the wings on the angels is like the wings on Mercury's boots, his shoes. It's to show that they're messengers and that they've got a message, and it's, to me, I believe it's symbolic, not actual.
See, and I always thought too that I always imagined an angel coming down and just kind of glowing, and I thought maybe just the glowing, just like, what is this glowing? Oh, wings. It's got to be wings. They fly. Anyway.
Right. So to your point where you said, maybe we don't know if we're in the presence of angels even.
Right.
It may kind of clue us into their nature. St. Augustine, back in the day, said that angel is an office. It's not their nature, which I thought was an interesting statement.
Just more their assignment?
Yeah, it says if you seek the name of their nature, it is spirit. So spirit is what they are. Angel is what they do. Still doesn't answer our question.
So it's like a verb. What are you doing? I'm angeling.
It's like a SAT test from hell. Angel is to blank as, no thanks.
I hate those.
Well, and then they talk about the different choirs of angels. And, you think of them singing as choirs when you hear that, but I think more almost of quorums or, groupings in a different hierarchy, as you'd have like different military ranks.
A choir is a team.
See, I actually have do you want to hear an angel singing story?
Sure.
So my great aunt used to tend us when we were small. She had family that lived in a little town in Utah called Manti, Utah. In Manti, Utah, there is a temple for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And this is a story that happened to her when she was little. And I don't know if she had been born yet, but it's when her family still lived in the Manti area. But they would go to the temple. This was before TV, before radios, before MP3s and phones. I mean, no electricity kind of era. They heard singing coming from the temple. There was no choir scheduled. At the time it's a small town. If there was a choir scheduled to sing, everybody in town would know, everybody in the county would know about it.
Because that's entertainment.
Right, because you're plowing your field or, you're going to church, it's not some kid driving down the road in his car listening to his radio, but they heard singing, and the only thing that they could figure it was angels singing at the temple. So, anyway, that's my choir of angels story.
So, literal choir of angels.
Yes.
In that
sense.
context. Anyway.
And they talk in the Bible, in Luke, in the Nativity about angels singing, the shepherds. So, yeah, I think there's singing involved.
I still think of choir. I think choir would be pretty sweet, like a sports team, just saying.
I would not be invited to the choir. I don't do sing. As our listeners have heard the few times I've tried to belt out like a little measure or two. No, sorry.
And what are you saying? There aren't going to be bagpipes in heaven, too?
Well, there might be a choir of bagpipes. But if we're talking a singing choir of angels, I will not be there because you've heard me sing.
So it's
It ain't pretty.
Yeah, I'm sure it's beautiful.
No, it's not.
So it's my understanding that each of these archangels is the head of a choir of angels? Is that...
I didn't come up with that.
I do know that Gabriel tends to be more of a messenger because in the scriptures, Gabriel is the angel that appeared to Mary and told her that she would be expecting Jesus. He is also the messenger that appeared to Muhammad in the Islamic religion and basically told him everything that Muhammad took and turned into the Quran.
And Zechariah, John the Baptist's father, he was the one that
He's
was
like,
that messenger.
Like the UPS guy of the angels?
Yes. So if you're sitting in your living room, drinking your drink and watching Netflix or, TikTok or something, and Gabriel appears to you, you better set everything down and pay attention because
probably important.
Something big is coming your way.
Maybe not UPS guy, maybe like singing telegram. That might make more sense.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to be struck down for that. You know that, right?
Oh, I know. I'm waiting for it. Sorry. So if Gabriel is the messenger, it seems like Michael is the warrior, the fighter. His name means who is like God. And, one of his roles that I was reading through is that it was his role to stand up for the children of men, that he would fight for mankind.
Right. And you have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe in the Catholic religion it's Michael that is the protector of people from evil spirits even.
That would make sense.
That's my understanding. I'm not heavy in Catholic theology, but I believe that's...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And they refer to him as Saint Michael. Mm-hmm.
Or a Saint Michael medallion.
Right. I'm sure there's a cross. That sounds like a thing.
For sure. You mentioned that there were 7 archangels. As I was reading through about Solomonic magic of King Solomon, there were 4 of those archangels that they referenced. Gabriel, Uriel, and Raphael. And they all have certain designations in the cardinal points of the earth, the directions of the earth, and they will turn to those directions and summon or invoke those angels. I'm not sure where the other 3 decided to go or fit in with this. I remember how all of these angels got their names, or how people discovered their names.
In the Book of Enoch, they are listed there, at least the ones that I had, and again's on them, or different translations.
In the apocryphal texts.
But in the apocryphal books, in the Book of Enoch, that's where they came, that I got the list of the 7 names that I've got and the different kind of attributes.
Names, and this is one of the things I started looking into, and then, it's 2020, life is crazy. I have seen in several places, and I have researched this before, of these archangels having a different name that we would know. For example, a lot of scholars and people that have studied this, I think angelology is an actual name, because there's the demonology and the angelology. And when I took my demonology course, I had to take an angelology course first.
You had to learn the angelology first.
So that you could understand.
Geometry.
Exactly. But in some of that angelology lore, they believe that Michael is Adam, as in Adam and Eve. They believe that Gabriel is Noah. And I don't know that they have one for everyone, but I think the other one, Raphael, I believe is Moses. They all, so according to some people, we know who they are when they were on Earth. If it's they were alive and they've passed, and
right,
kind of a theory.
Which would move to kind of that pre-existence kind of a mentality of, the angels and the heavenly hosts, and then
part of the demoted divine council.
I think the demoted divine council are the ones that got their butts kicked out
yeah.
for rebellion.
No, they straight up got fired. Everyone else got demoted.
They're fired.
I did think it was interesting as I was researching the idea of the heaven and hell, and it's like those entities didn't get placed to hell, but they had no place in heaven because they were cast out of heaven, but they hadn't received a body and been able to go to hell, so they've been cast out on the earth. And that's part of the way, the explanation of why there's demons here on the earth, is that's who they are. Hosts of heaven, the third that rebelled, they didn't go to hell.
Right.
They came to earth, and they're trying to make our lives miserable.
They're unhappy and pissed off, and so in order to make them happy, they got to make us unhappy too.
I thought that was interesting on the way that it was described, as there wasn't a place for them, and so this is it. This is where they ended up almost by default.
Nowhere else to go.
Like, we'll just hang out in this person's basement. Scare them.
Come down and torment people, I guess.
They hang out in the creepiest places. It's like if I didn't have a body and I was just come down and hang out somewhere, I'd hang out someplace cool.
I'd probably hang out somewhere creepy.
Yeah, but they tend to like to hang out in basements and crawl spaces and backs of closets. And they're weird.
So what's your take on guardian angels?
So guardian angels, I think a lot of people look for angels in their lives, especially if they've had someone close to them that's passed. And like we talked about earlier in our last podcast, some of the deathbed phenomena and people, seeing loved ones and seeing friends, those could be classified as angels, I suppose. But people that are alive, if a loved one's passed, oftentimes, I don't know that they necessarily look for signs, but I think they're looking for comfort. I think that some of these people's, like I'm not there. I've had loved ones pass.
Everyone but Deanne.
Yeah, everyone.
Oh, sorry, Raven.
Everybody but me. No, I mean, I have had loved ones pass, and would I like a message from them to know that they're happy and they're safe and everything's okay? Yes, absolutely. So there's actually quite a few signs, and some of these have actually happened to me. So I believe they're real. You guys can think I'm crazy, but one of them is a white feather or a feather in an unusual spot. So an unusual spot, you could say, Raven, when you go outside, it's outside, there's feathers everywhere. But it's going to be, that feather on the seat of your car when you open the door. And it doesn't look like any other birds around. It's going to be one standing straight up, on your kitchen table or, right in your path, maybe as you're walking down, Walmart aisle shopping for Christmas or something. It's going to be in an unusual spot. And that's an angel telling you, everything's okay, just giving you comfort. And what comfort you need, you might be not even thinking about a loved one, but just struggling with something, and an angel can leave that message for you. And if you notice it, you can go, oh, I feel so much better. Sensation of warmth. And I thought this was interesting. So when spirits move down into the material reality from where they're at, they actually have to go through many different layers. And the first layer that they go through is warmth. And so it's a peaceful warmth. So if you feel just for no reason a peaceful warmth, and I was going to say something. I will not say that. If you feel a peaceful warmth out of nowhere, that could be an angel just comforting you with whatever you're going through at the time. Another one is flickering lights. Now, this one you need to be careful with, because when we have people calling us for residentials, that's one of the things. Our lights are flicking off and on. And so flickering lights could be bad, too. So if your lights start flickering...
It might be a fallen angel.
I know someone you can call, and we'll come and investigate for you. But I think most people, when this happens, it's usually not flicker. It's usually kind of an off-on, and it's going to be, peaceful, and it's going to be a lot about the feeling that's around you. There's going to be a palpable difference.
So if the flickering light scares the crap out of you...
Probably not an angel.
No, but if it makes you feel all right.
Yeah, but if you're like, and what people have said is, they've been struggling with, trying to make a decision, and then they've, between two things, should I move or should I not move? Should I change jobs? Should I not change jobs? And when they've made a decision, and then they're like, okay, this is the decision I'm going to make based on all of our planning. Is this the right decision? And then they'll just, the light lamp right by them will go off and on, and they feel peaceful. And to them, that's been an angel saying, no, you're making the right decision. So something like that. If you're just traipsing through the kitchen and the lights start turning off and on for no particular reason, give us a call. apps.wisps.contact@gmail.com.
Or it might be the guy that wired your lights here originally.
You may need to get an electrician.
So sometimes you just have to use your discernment. So another one, which is very common, is angel-shaped clouds, or attention drawn to maybe a heart-shaped cloud, or a cloud that for some reason has meaning to you. So let's say that your grandma passed, and maybe you and your grandma, your special thing was butterflies. She'd write you a letter and put a little butterfly in it, or maybe she would buy you, butterfly hair clips or whatever. And if for some reason you just feel compelled to look at the sky and boom, there's a butter-shaped fly cloud, probably your angel just saying, hey,
I like that, a butter-shaped fly cloud.
Did I say that, really? Did I just say that?
It's probably delicious.
I'm going to get fired.
It's great on toast. Put it on your pancakes.
A butterfly-shaped cloud. It's been a long day. Okay, so a scent with meaning that comes out of nowhere. And I've actually had this one happen to me as well. You're just sitting in your office, and suddenly you smell your grandma's perfume, and your grandma was your favorite person, or maybe it's your mother and she passed recently or something, but you smell this scent, and there's no way it would have come from anywhere else.
And nothing can bring back a memory like a smell
or
a scent.
You smell that smell, and just in fact, I was cleaning out a cupboard just the other day, and there was something in there that I hadn't smelled for a long time, and just this flood of memories, just whoosh.
I could see how an angel would use something like that.
Yeah, because that's going to be
comfort.
Yeah, because they're going to know that you will know exactly what this means. And so I was very close to my Aunt Krista, and one thing that would if she wanted me to know that she was there, I would probably smell burnt toast, because she would put toast in and then forget about it, and it would burn. And I can't tell you how many times we went.
My grandma did that on purpose, and
Ew.
basically just ate charcoal.
Oh, I don't know. It's just gross.
And she was a really good cook, too.
She was a fabulous cook, but her toast was black.
Yeah, well, my Aunt Krista, bless her little heart, she would cook things. She'd put things in to cook and then just forget about it. And we'd go to visit, and the house would just smell like smoke.
Burnt toast.
Burnt toast.
I've also heard that people have a scent of burnt toast before having seizures sometimes. So be careful. That's all I'm saying.
That is good to know. Tip from the doc today.
That's right. Burning rubber, burnt toast. Those are all. They call them auras, kind of things that precede the event of a seizure.
Good. Well, yes. So if you smell burnt tires or burnt toast, you just get in the car and you start driving to the hospital.
Or it may be your aunt who loved to burn toast.
It's up to you to decide if it's your health or your guardian angel.
And don't get in the car, because if you have a seizure, you're going to kill yourself or somebody else.
Have someone else.
Don't do it.
Get someone else to drive you to the hospital. Okay, so you hear this one a lot too, and this is a lot we get for residentials, is people will call and say, my cat is staring at the ceiling and it's really freaking us out. Or, we've got babies or small children looking off into a corner, smiling and waving. Several people and several different religions believe that the veil between here and the afterlife is pretty thin. And there's a very heavy belief that children and animals can see through that. And so if you have a small child or a cat, they said cats, especially dogs to some extent, but especially cats, are very in tune to the more guardian angel type spirits. And having done residentials for as long as we have, I think that dogs tend to recognize the more mischievous or malevolent spirits better than cats do. Because I've heard more with the malevolent or cantankerous spirit in a home, it's been more they've bothered the dogs. But when we've had spirits that turn out to be a loved one that's trying to get their attention, it's been more the cats. So if your cats are looking around, probably not too worried. If your dogs start freaking out, give us a call. Music. If you hear a certain song that means something to you, again with no obvious, or maybe even an obvious source, it could be your guardian angel giving you a little shout out. And like feathers, coins in your path. And this is one that I get a lot. I cannot tell you how many pennies I can find. And not that I'm looking for it, but there's just where I go, penny, 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 penny. And especially pennies, not so much quarters or dimes or nickels, something about pennies. And I haven't been able to find out if there's something significant about the penny itself, the stuff it's made out of. Maybe it's because it's just 1 cent and it's simple.
People don't even bother to pick them up.
I know. So maybe that's the thing. They'll know you'll find them because no one's going to mess with it, right? But pennies. And they also said if you start finding a lot of pennies in places, to look at the date, because oftentimes the date might mean something to you as well.
Interesting.
That's interesting.
We did a residential about a year ago, I think, in the Ogden area. And when the woman called, we ask, tell us what's been going on, because, depending on what they say, kind of depends on the team we send out and might depend on the equipment we take out with us. And she said that she was finding pennies just right and left. She says, I can hardly move without a penny appearing in front of me. And when we got there, it did turn out that she had a loved one that was trying to get her attention. So that's a big one.
That was, speaking of angels, you mentioned pets and you mentioned children being a little more, I guess, attuned to kind of honing in on these guardian angels. I was trying to figure out where the basis of this, guardian angel idea comes from. And, I found a scripture actually in the book of Matthew where Christ talks about the little ones and how it says, their angels do always behold the face of my Father which is in heaven. And that was a biblical reference where people would imply that these children have angels in heaven that watch over them. And this is coming from Christ himself.
Wow. I think he's probably legit in his information.
Probably, when it comes to heaven, he probably knows a thing or two. Yeah.
So this probably isn't so much a guardian angel. This is actually more of a near-death experience kind of a story. But I think it kind of fits here in a way. There was a little girl who had kind of a near-death experience. She died temporarily and came back. And one day she was sitting on the porch with one of her parents, and it was, how the smell of rain comes before it rains. And she looked at her parent and said, that's what God smells like. And I thought, that's interesting. That's what, we're talking about smells. And so, again, don't know how that works, but now every time you smell rain, you're going to think of God. So you're welcome.
And rainbows.
Exactly.
Getting back to the guardian angels that you're just talking about with the reference in Matthew, I saw some information, and these are some things about guardian angels. There's 7, they call them facts. I don't know if they're facts, but 7 ideas about guardian angels. And one is that guardian angels don't care about the denomination, your denomination, whether it's Christian, Catholic, Buddhist, atheist, whatever, they don't care.
And see, and that rings true to me because I believe we're all God's children. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I buy that one. I deem that fact.
You deem that one fact?
I officially deem that one fact.
No matter what you believe, they're going to try.
They're going to be there. And the guardian angels have hearts and souls. And hearts, the emotions. They have emotions and hearts and souls. They can relate to us. They're ready and willing to help, and they want to help us. And we, when we're in need, we should ask for their help, that they will help us. They want to. And another one was that they choose us. Not necessarily that,
Like the wand chooses the wizard in Harry Potter?
Yeah, kind of that.
They're like your wand.
Yeah, so if you don't like your angel, there's something wrong with you.
And they know us better than we know ourselves because they've known us since before we were born. They've known us a lot longer than our realization of our existence.
That's actually an interesting point. In some of the reading that I did, they mentioned that angels, they know more than we do, but they're not all-knowing. They're not omniscient. They don't know everything. Yeah, they're not God.
Yeah.
I figure anyone that knows more than me is like omniscient to me.
And they will endure things with us. The things that we endure, they also endure, our guardian angels.
Oh, mine are so overworked.
And you said mine.
Yeah, I'm kind of
You
curious.
make it sound like there's more than one.
Oh, we'll talk about that here in just a second.
Well, that's number 7. There's more than one.
What?
I have 4.
And
Spoiler alert.
yeah, and they can even have specific roles. So that was one of the things when I was reading this list that I found kind of interesting, and I knew that it would kind of work in there. And a lot of people might call a guardian angel a spirit guide or some other term, but an entity that is there to help you and help guide you and help you do the right things in your life.
Right.
Go
ahead.
I was going to say, my question is, how do you get to know who your guardian angel is, if you have a guardian angel?
So I will tell you. There are just a couple more angel signs and we'll just rattle these off really quickly. So this one, again, and we're going to kind of defer to Doc here to give us the lowdown on some of this. But if you see sparkles of light, shimmers, or flashes that kind of catch your eye, that could be an angelic sign. It could also possibly be a sign that you might need to go to the doctor.
Could be a stroke, could be a seizure, could be a terrible migraine, or it could be an angel.
Right. So again, if you see mysterious sparkles of light, you might need to kind of do a self-assessment. Is it an angel getting your attention, or do you need to go to the doctor?
When I see them, I drink a lot of caffeine and go lay down in the dark room because that's a migraine coming on.
If you stay home, you might see angels if you're having a stroke.
Yeah, so some of these you might want to be a little careful. Also, if you're meditating and you see a bright light, and I've actually had this happen to me before, that could be one. And then the last one is if you start seeing a lot of angel numbers. And angel numbers are numbers like 1111 or 444 or 333. You get the idea.
666. Oh, wait.
No, that is not an angel number. That is like the devil number. So, yeah, if you start seeing a lot of 666s, you might need to also reassess your life and make some different life choices. So, guardian angels, yes. Guardian angels, a lot of people in the paranormal world will call them spirit guides. And I had a little bit of a hard time wrapping my head around this at one point, but after having found out who my spirit guides were, and then having 3 mediums on 3 separate occasions, unbeknownst to each other, without me telling them anything, telling me the exact same thing, I'm a believer. So here's how you find out who your spirit guide is. And this is something we always, people will tell this to people at residentials. But the way you find your spirit guide, basically what you're going to do is clear your mind so that you're open to hearing them. So here's the process. What you do, and don't do this as you're laying down getting ready for bed, because I did this and it took me about 35 tries because I kept falling asleep. But you want to be someplace where it's quiet, where it's peaceful, where you can meditate. So you are going to imagine your happy place, wherever that might be. It could be the beach, it could be the mountains, the desert, wherever you're the pool. Some people, their happy place might be by the pool. I don't know. But you are going to describe your happy place to yourself. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What's the temperature? Are there bushes, trees? What do the surroundings look like? You are going to describe this in full detail. And I've had people say, I'm not a very visual person. Do your best.
It's kind of interesting. I took an elective in hypnotherapy, and they use a very similar technique.
Yep.
It's all about visualization.
Yep, and just clearing your mind of what am I going to make for dinner, and I got to pay that bill, and so as soon as you just completely envision this happy place, you're going to look down and you're going to see a path. Describe the path to yourself. What's it made out of? How wide is it? is it straight? Is it windy? You get the idea, right? Just keep, as soon as you've described this path and you feel like you could about touch it.
And there's no right answer.
No right answer. Okay.
This is just all of what you're doing.
You're creating this pathway. So as soon as you have described this path to yourself, you're going to walk down it. And as you're walking down the path, what do you see? Are there trees? Are there buildings? Are there, is there grass? Are there animals? Are there bugs? Is the wind blowing? What's the temperature like? Again, describe everything that you're seeing as you're walking down this path. This is about where I fall asleep.
It's hypnotic. I mean, by
Literally.
definition, this is hypnosis.
Exactly. So as you walk down the path and you've described your surroundings to yourself, you're going to come across a dwelling. And I think we all know where we're going with this. You're going to describe this dwelling to yourself. What does it look like? Does it have doors? Does it have windows? Are there stairs to get up to it? Are there vines growing off of it? Is it made of glass? Is it made of wood? So on and so forth, right? As soon as you've described the dwelling to yourself, you're going to see a door, because dwellings have doors. And you're going to go knock on it. Now, if you're someone out there I know is going to contact us and go, "Oh, my dwelling was a hut. There's no door to knock on." Well, smart Alec, knock on the side of the cave. Okay.
It's made out of straw.
Okay. Somehow,
Little pigs, let me in.
somehow you're going to alert the people inside the dwelling that you are there and you would like to speak with them. Okay. You ring a bell. I don't care what you do, but you want to have someone come to the door and talk to you. When they open the door, when they come to the opening in your cave or pull back the straw, whatever it is, work with me here. Talk to them. So I'll tell you briefly, when I went through this process, my happy place is more kind of a mountainy area. My kind of dark and green and overgrown, and my dwelling is kind of a think of a little log-ish shack with greenery over it, like you might see in a fairy garden. Okay, that's how my brain works. So I knocked on the door. And my spirit guide, who, if you've met me before, his name is Charles. It's not his real name. He won't tell me his real name, so I named him Charles. He's not too keen on it, but if you don't tell me your real name, I'm not going to call you "Hey, you." So
That seems to be a common theme amongst angels and demons.
yep, they
Is
do
not giving their names.
They don't tell their names.
reveal their names.
So he's okay with it, and he actually kind of chuckles about it now. But he opened the door. And I don't want to go into a lot of detail because it's kind of personal, but based on, there's two women that are also my spirit guides. Based on a few things, I saw those two women and I knew that I did not come up with this idea. It's not something that because the whole time I'm doing this, there's this nagging thought in the back of my mind going, I'm just making this up. But based on what happened when Charles opened the door, I was like, I did not make this up because I would have not have come up with what's going on right here. And don't worry, it's nothing creepy. And so he and I had a little chat and everything was good. So I knew of the three of them. And then on the separate occasions that I spoke with the mediums that I told you about, they each of them independently said, you actually have a fourth. It's another man. And he just kind of comes back and forth. And he's probably the one that comes and says, y'all good? Y'all good? And they're like, do you see who we're assigned to? No, we are not good. And he probably laughs and then leaves. And they're like, what the heck? So that is how you find your spirit guides.
So out of your 4 angels, would you say Charles is in charge?
Yes, that's good. That is really good.
Dad joke, all right.
Yes, he is actually, he's in charge. He's very, very alpha male.
Of your days and your nights? Of your wrongs and your rights?
You got to sing this.
No. You don't want to hear me sing.
If you don't know what he's talking about, there's a show called Charles in Charge, which is amazing.
Yeah, if you didn't catch that reference, I think we dated ourselves in an extreme way. Okay.
We're not old, we promise.
Yikes.
So, yeah, Charles he's definitely the spokesman. Most people have more than one, but there's only one that's the spokesman. And just FYI, your spirit guides always hang out on your right side. If you tell me that your spirit guide is on your left side, again, you need to reassess some of your life choices and get that fixed. So, there you go. Spirit
Always
guides.
the right side.
Yep.
Interesting.
It's good to know.
There was something else that I had found that looking through about that. We talked about earlier that there's only 2 of the angels that are mentioned in the Bible, is Gabriel and Michael. But there are 2 fallen angels also mentioned in the Bible.
Okay, I know one, but I don't know the other.
Okay, who's the one?
So Lucifer, Satan.
Yes, you got him. And the other is Abaddon, Abaddon, or in Greek it's Apollyon, Appollyon, and that's in Revelations 9:11. And he is the destroyer, and he guards the bottomless pit. And he is mentioned by name. So there's two good angels and 2 fallen angels in the canonical scriptures, that came out, our modernish Bibles.
Right.
Where
So there is one more named Ish, not necessarily a name, but in Genesis they talk about the seraphim that guards the tree of good and evil.
yeah, and I wonder if that is an individual, because I was wondering on that, if that's an individual angel or if that's a type.
It's a type of angel. When I took my angelology class, which sounds a lot more impressive than it than it probably should, they talk about the seraphim being a type of angel.
I was reading about cherubim and seraphim as different types.
And an ophamin, Ophamin.
I don't know that I know anything about those.
That doesn't sound familiar.
The cherubim I know were placed on top of the Ark of the Covenant.
Right.
And were also placed in front of the tree of life.
See, when we say cherubim, I imagine little roly-poly baby angels.
Super cute things.
Don't. The scriptures get in there when they talk about the cherubim. They are awesome. They Daniel, trembled in fear. All these people, they tremble in fear of the cherubim.
It's been a long time since you've had a 2-year-old, isn't it?
And
I've got one. They're terrifying. They're super cute, and they go all
rogue on you.
Go rogue on you. I was going to say the other places that they mentioned cherubim were in Solomon's Temple.
Yeah.
And in the Holy of Holies. And from what I was reading, the cherubim symbolize the presence of God, places where God dwells.
I like
that was
that.
interesting.
Yeah, the Ophium, and I'm sure I'm saying it wrong.
That's okay, because I pronounced all the angels earlier exactly correctly.
And I didn't even try. I'm smart like that.
But a lot of them, they're represented as 2 wheels that intersect with eyes all around everything. They're not even like humanoid. They're completely different. And then some of these other angels, it says they've got like 6 wings, and they've got wings around their face, and then 2 that they fly with.
Right.
And there's some Ezekiel or Isaiah where it talks about it.
The place in the Bible where the seraphim come up, at least that stands out to my mind, is when the people of God, the Israelites, I don't know if they were actually Israel at this time, were being bitten by the fiery serpents. Yeah, because they mentioned seraphim and fiery flying serpents.
So maybe that was the cherub.
I don't know. What is seraphim? I don't know.
Flying fiery serpents biting me sounds pretty scary.
And then all they had to do was look at the brazen serpent to be healed. But I don't know. Is that like their job? Like I said, they all seem to have some office.
Probably.
Do the seraphim come down and punish? I don't know.
Right. It's like it's your job to do this. Well, then there's, in Revelations it talks about all the angels from the different eras, and they blow their trumpet and bring forth different things. You wonder, is that these archangels? Is that just generic angels? Do you sign up for that? It's like it's your turn to blow the trumpet at the earth.
No, they all got jobs.
Interesting. Yeah, one of the things they talk to with these a lot of theologians are these literal or are they figurative?
Right.
And do they have meanings? Are these offices or are they individuals? So there's a lot of questions.
I think the archangels are individuals. That's my vote.
No, I'm talking about the seraphim, the cherubim.
Oh.
It would be really weird to have
kind of
2 wheels with a bunch of eyeballs doing stuff.
Yeah.
That would be creepy. I would be creeped out.
Some of the artwork and descriptions on it's like, ooh.
I personally think that most is symbolic, but I'm sure there are some literal history. But I feel like the deeper lessons that you can get from the Bible are more. They're they're deeper. They're in the symbolism of the Bible more than just a literal story.
It's kind of like, here's the story and this happened, but if you look a little deeper, you can learn more stuff.
Right. Don't get thrown off by the wheels and the eyeballs, because you might miss the point. I'm not sure what the point is, but I'll keep digging.
Wheels on eyeballs are kind of weird.
Seems weird to me.
It's like I can't quite wrap my head around that. But I tell you, if a wheel with eyeballs came rolling towards me and it said do something,
I'd probably listen.
probably
Yeah,
do.
thing.
Now,
Sir, ma'am.
one of the things that was kind of interesting was a depiction of someone, and again, you get into the ancient alien theories kind of thing, but is that a vehicle in which an entity...
It's a UFO.
That's...
Ooh, this is a whole different
The
podcast
wheel with
topic.
the eyeballs.
Yeah. And they showed some drawings of, some possible conveyances that would be round and again, wheeled with eyeballs.
And you're watching people being raised up to heaven. They're just being abducted.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And when you look at it, when we say eyeball, are they video cameras? Are these literal
They just
organic eyes, or is this a way to...
Or twinkly bright lights. Who knows?
Yeah.
can't. Right. Well, kind of like in Revelations, they talk about the beast. How do they describe it? It's like a locust, but with the head of a grasshopper, or something with the head of a grasshopper. And if you read it now and you think of like helicopters, and you think this could be a helicopter.
Think of Isaiah and some of these people trying to describe today in the terms that people of their time would understand.
Right.
Okay? There's some examples. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was like of a rocket ship.
Head's like a lion and it shoots fire. And yeah, I could see it being hard to describe something like a tank, for example.
Yeah. And yet, like, okay, what... And it roars like a...
Roars like a lion.
And so they're seeing all these things and they're describing them. And so these may be literal descriptive terminology that they can do for their audience at the time.
Interesting.
So are the angels aliens is the question, I suppose. It sounds like based on
let's go with
Raven's
this.
experiences.
Let's go with this. Are they extraterrestrial or interdimensional?
Ooh.
Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they have to come from another star system.
Right.
Here's one for you. Because, is that where the veil is thin? Is that another dimension in which is another realm that people
I guess
can
it
cross?
does. It depends on how you define alien.
Yeah.
Yeah, is an alien to you someone from a different planet? Is it someone from a different realm? Is it something that's just not from Earth?
Do they still count as humans?
I don't know.
We're delving into a different podcast topic.
Yes, we are.
But the idea, when you think about it, is that the realm that they come from? When you talk about angels and the invisible, because God's the God of the visible and the invisible, and is there a moving through, and as we die, do our spirits go to that other realm?
Interesting.
Anyway,
Tune in for another podcast where we delve into this even further.
where we go off the rails again.
Happy holidays, y'all.
Haunt on, my spooky friends.
We'll see you. Good night.
Good night.
You've been listening to the Supernatural Hour at AdvancedParanormal.com. The Supernatural Hour is part of the Radio Ronin network found at RadioRonin.com. Copyright by Advanced Paranormal Services.